You won't tomorrow morning when we're finished, I tell you. Right, let's just move that out of the way before we begin. I need to know a couple of things before we begin. So firstly, which of you here, I know some of you I can recall, but have been to any of my events before? Okay. Which of you have seen DVDs? Good, right, that's, so you know not to be offended. Some of my approach sometimes is a little bit odd to say the least. That's the first thing you need to be warned about. The second thing is that this weekend, certainly today anyway, tomorrow will be slightly different, but today you're going to think, what's that got to do with hypnosis? Well, actually, most of what we're going to cover this weekend has got nothing to do with hypnosis whatsoever. But it doesn't matter whether you are a hypnotist, a magician, a plumber, a builder, whether you're a mortgage salesperson, it doesn't matter if you're selling double glazing, it doesn't matter what it is you're selling, or what your product is, or what your service is, or what your industry is. At the end of the day, without customers, people to part with money, you're fucked. And it's as simple as that. So the bottom line in life, whatever industry you're in, is to get clients, to get sales, to make money. Now, before we begin, a couple of questions for everyone. And you are allowed to talk back to me, so yes works wonderfully if that is the answer you want to give. Who in this room would actually like to make more money?
Yes.
Yes. And the hands went up as well, that was positive, yeah. Who would like to do less work than they're doing now, but make more money whilst doing that? Brilliant. And who ideally would like to do as little as fucking possible, wake up in the morning and find that you've made shitloads of money while you've been asleep?
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, by the end of this week, well, certainly by the end of today, you'll all be able to do that. So, but first, you need to know a little bit about me. You may have seen the DVDs, but I need you to know a few things that I don't normally tell people. That's why this event is never going to run again. That's why we're filming it. And believe me, you've all got a bargain this weekend, because the people who buy the DVDs will be paying far more than the select few that we've got here. I do not make my money from hypnosis. I make money from hypnosis. It's the perception you've all got. But I can tell you here and now, you ain't ever going to become a fucking millionaire from hypnosis. Ain't going to happen. Unless you're incredibly lucky. You end up with some sort of TV series, and even then, it's only because you're going to be merchandising. That is where you're going to make money from. Not treating clients, not doing stage shows, or anything like that. That ain't going to make you fucking rich. Simple as. That is not how I make my money. I make my money in the ways we're going to cover this weekend. Which, if you choose, you can adapt your hypnotic skills to make money in those ways, but you don't have to limit yourself to just hypnosis. And a prime example of that, which will become clearer by the end of today, is that you're all going to walk away from this event with 7,000 products to sell. And I did say 7,000. Which you will have licenses to, giving you legal rights to copy them and sell them. Giving you the right to start making money. At least a couple of hundred of them come with ready-made websites. So it's literally upload the website, start making money. There's a bit more to it than that, but essentially you will walk away not just with shitloads of products, but also the means with which to start making money from them. And you never have to give me a penny, that's all yours to do with as you want. So, and I will just point out, although you'll all have the same products, just because you may all end up selling the same thing doesn't mean that that will limit any of you from making money from them. If that was the case, then there wouldn't be so many shoe shops out there wouldn't be so many places selling the same thing. There's no such thing as a saturated market as long as you find a different way of selling the same thing. Okay, a little bit about me. This is going to sound very arrogant and egotistical, but you need to know, if I can do it, believe me, you can do it. I'm now 31 years of age. Let me be honest with you, some of you who've read my autobiography will already know this, but a number of years ago, not that long ago, I was bankrupt, penniless, didn't have a fucking penny to my name, had just got out of prison, was living in a house share, and was on social security benefits. Had fuck all. Everything had gone tits up. I'd made all the money, I'd took the cocaine, drunk too much, spent it on women, and basically fucked my life up. So I had literally started from scratch, having learned the lessons the hard way, i.e. pissing it all over the wall. Not saving any of it, which is an important part. It's not just what you make, it's also what you save, which will become more clear again as the weekend goes on. And started from scratch, and now, a few years on, obviously I'm no longer bankrupt. At the age of 30, just over a year ago, it makes me feel old, I own my own properties outright, paid for in cash, no mortgages, no loans, just went in, thank you very much, I'm buying my house. There you go, there's cash. Which is a fucked up feeling. Especially when you see their reaction like, we're going to have to count this. Yeah, I gather that, yeah. Go on. Most people don't walk in with a big lump of cash and go, there you go, I'm just buying my house. Well done, knocking his head at the back there, staff. Don't knock yourself out. I own my own properties outright for cash. I don't owe anyone anything. I don't owe anything on credit cards. In fact, although I have credit cards, I never use them. I prefer dealing in cash. You get things cheaper. That's another story, but you can negotiate far better with cash than you ever will with credit cards or finance or anything like that. I, well, have control of 2 rather expensive cars. I'm sure you've seen a couple of them out in the car park. The irony of that is, I don't drive very much because I'm generally pissed. For those who see me in the bar, you know how true that is. But nonetheless, again, they're not on finance, paid for in cash. All my household bills are paid for at least the next 6 months. Could I wait till the end of the year and then just go and pay them off up front in cash for the year? Why am I saying this? It sounds big-headed, it sounds egotistical. Yes, it is. But the point is, if I can do it, you guys can. And the reason I say that so confidently is because, yeah, I went to school, well, occasionally. But I was born on the circus, so a lot of the time I wasn't at school, I was performing. I have no particular specialist academic qualifications. I certainly never trained for any conventional job of any manner. I've never really done any sort of what you would call work. 9 to 5. I'm a lazy bastard, basically. But hopefully you'll all be lazy bastards by the end of the weekend. Or bitches. I'm not being sexist, you understand. Because being a millionaire, and that is what you are all capable of achieving, it's a case of, well, you know, you say millionaire to somebody and they say, well, that means having a million, you know, assets worth £1 million. To other people it means having £1 million cash in the bank. To other people it means different things. My definition of being truly wealthy, that's step 1, is to be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, with whoever you want, without it costing you anything. Alright, it might cost you, but the point is without you incurring any debt or anything like that, so you can decide, right, fuck it, I ain't working tomorrow, I'm going to go somewhere. And you go. With me, it's generally the pub, but that's just my personal life choice. But that's one of the things we're going to start off with, because each of you's got a major, major decision to make. There's one thing that stops most people from ever being truly wealthy and financially independent. Anyone got any idea what that one thing is?
Fear.
Fear's one of them, yeah, well, fear's a label for it. The key thing is you.
Attitude.
Comfort zone.
Yeah, comfort zone, fear, but ultimately it comes down to you, the human being. Male or female, young or old, has got fuck all to do with it. Sometimes we justify things to ourselves. Oh, I'm too young to do that, or too old, or, oh, if only I lived somewhere else, I'd be able to do that. Well, if that was the case, why are the 9-year-old millionaires out there who come up with, you know, some crazy mad idea, stuck it on the internet, and they're seriously rich? Age has got nothing to do with it. Academic qualifications have got nothing to do with it. The only real thing that you need is a desire and a motivation that you can and will do something. At the end of this weekend, some of you, I hope this doesn't happen, for once in my life I want to be wrong, but some of you likely will leave here all fired up and then do fuck all with what I've told you. and 6 months down the line you wonder why you're in exactly the same position you are now. Because the fact of life is, if you do the same things in the same way, you'll get the same end result. If you want something to change, then you've got to do things differently. And that doesn't mean necessarily it's got to be more hard work. But first of all, you've got to examine what you truly want from life. I'm going to ask you again. Everyone in the room, who truly wants to make shitloads of money?
Yes. Yes.
You might change your mind as the weekend goes on. Because, you know, not necessarily everyone in this room actually wants that. What I think you actually truly want is the freedom that that money will give you. It's the lifestyle that that money will give you. What do I mean by that? Well, ultimately, you could work, well, let's say 8 hours a day in a conventional 9-to-5 job, 40 hours a week, or you decide to work 7 days a week, that's what, maths, 56 hours, something like that. And that's what accountants are for, leave the maths to them, but it's somewhere close. There's only so many hours in the day with conventional jobs. If you're in the service industry, there's only so many hours in the day. You can only see so many people. So there is a limit to what you can earn. Like at Lumpy, and the only way around that is to either start employing loads and loads of staff, so you can send them off doing stuff, or to start hiking your prices up, which, you know, generally speaking, there is a level in all industries where over that level you ain't going to go any further, or finding another way to do it so you can make money and time isn't an issue. And that's what we're going to be talking about. But the first thing you need to decide is what you truly want from life. So I think it's safe to say, I'm going to do a bit of mind reading here, but I'm kind of guessing that we all want a roof over our heads. Yeah? Somewhere to live. Yeah? These figures are just made up. They're somewhere in the middle. For some people, these figures will be above what you're paying out now. For other people, they'll be below what you're paying out now. It's just an example to give you an idea. But let's assume you don't yet own your home outright. You're going to have rent or mortgage to pay. Now, we're talking calendar month here. This is the sort of thing you literally do need to do some soul searching in yourself and sit down. Whether it's in the bar tonight, or, no, you'll probably be getting pissed because I'm a bad influence, but never mind. But at some point, you need to sit down with pen and paper. And it's hard, but examine yourself. I've just put on here £1,000 a month for rent or mortgage, which, you know, £1,000 a month, that's roughly what you'd be paying on a sort of quarter, £500,000 house in that region. You can have council tax, whatever obviously you're going to write down your figure that's relevant to you. You know what they are. So I've just put 200 there. You're going to have gas. I've just put 200, water 100, electric 200, phone line 100, Sky TV 50 quid, internet 20 quid, TV licence 20 quid a month, but car finance there 400, petrol 300, assuming you do a lot of driving, clothes 400 quid a month, food 600 quid a month, emergencies, always have an emergency fund 400. I put kids down there for those of you who have the pleasure of having them. If pleasure is the right word, 800, giving us an example figure here of £4,790 a calendar month. Your figure obviously will be either less or above, or if I've done some amazing Derren Brown style trip, identical, who knows. But that would be rather spooky. But you've got to get a figure for yourself. There might be other things on there that you need to add in, but generally that's what we all have. A roof over our heads, gas bills, water bills. These are the things of everyday life that have to be paid for. You need to get that figure. Now, to retire, and by retire I mean to kind of confidently in your head know that you don't need to do anything if you don't want to, so that you can maintain that lifestyle if you weren't doing anything. As a rough guide, you need to multiply it by 15, this figure. Well, the yearly figure. So we multiply it by 12. By 12, that's £57,480 a year in this example. You then take that figure that you've got for yourself, multiply it by 15, and in this example we get £862,200. Approaching £1 million. That is the figure you need, roughly 15 times what your expenses are, and you've got to cover everything in there to be able to put into a high interest account that you do not touch. You never touch that money. That's your target figure, to get in an account that you do not touch, so that the interest each month, when it gets transferred to another account, will give you, and you'll get higher interest rate than that on that kind of money, but even on a low 5 or 6%, on 6% it's 51,732 a year that you'd be getting off that in interest. You'd actually get a higher rate than that if you invested it right. So in truth, off that figure of 862 200, your monthly amount you will be getting in interest would mean that all of this is paid, and you've had to do naff all. And you know, if you've already included in that figure, I mean, I don't know, but 600 quid a month for food, 400 quid for emergencies, £1,000 a month, narrow it down, that's 250 quid a week. Yeah, you can get pissed on that. Sounds pretty good to me. Every day, but that's just my life choice. It comes down to what you want to do with your life. And that is the key thing here. I know it sounds a bit flippant, me, you know, getting particular pleasure out of pickling my liver, but that's my choice. And this is what this is all about. It's about taking control for yourself and doing what you want to do. So you need to get your target figure first of all. The figure that you need, so that if you could get it now, wave a magic wand, it'd be there in an account every month, interest comes over here, you don't have to do anything. It's all paid. Your rent's paid, your mortgage, which ultimately, if you have got a mortgage, a certain time down the line, you're going to end up owning that property outright, which means your net worth has increased anyway. But whether you did anything else at all, you know that then the lifestyle as you have it now would remain the same. But I'm guessing, given that you're here this weekend, that you're deep down not 1,000,000% happy with your lifestyle as it is. I assume, because if you were, now's the time to fuck off, because what's the point of being in it? You're just going to waste 2 days of your life because you may as well stay as you are. If you're truly, truly happy with the way things are, then why change anything? And that's where the soul-searching part comes in. So you get your target figure. And that's a figure that you need to be able to literally retire and do nothing. But it's not enough just to have that, because obviously on that list before we didn't put in things like holidays. We didn't put in things like, bloody hell, you've done something crazy, like met somebody and you want to buy them a stupidly big diamond ring. So you still need to be bringing money in as well. Preferably by doing as little as possible, which obviously, as the day goes on, will become very clear. There is, of course, one other very key thing when you examine what you're paying out. And that is, it's not always about what money you're making, it's about what money you're not spending. And by that I mean, it's all well and good earning shitloads of money, but I forget exactly how the Chinese proverb goes, but it's paraphrased, something like, make £1, spend £1 and a penny, stress, unhappiness. Make £1, spend 99 pence, happiness. In other words, you've got to be constantly, however little it is, you've got to be saving. You've got to build up your money bank. Which is why, ideally, even when you've got this figure, you're going to be spending all that anyway monthly just on, we'll call it surviving. In other words, maintaining the lifestyle you've got used to at that stage. So you want, look, we're human beings, and a lot of us in the room are therapists. So you already know that people, generally speaking, the more they get, the more they want. It's human nature. We get into a comfort zone. Eventually we decide to move out of it, and it's uncomfortable and, oh shit. Then we make things happen, so we're now happy with this zone here. But then it's like, yeah, it's better than that, but... And you're always wanting to go forward. Now that is the quickest route to success in one respect, but, let me tell you from personal experience, it's also the quickest route to fucking up your life. Because if you are constantly thinking, I'm going to do better, I'm going to do more, at some point down the line, you're going to find you're working every hour that God sends. Yes, there'll be shitloads of money coming in, but when are you ever going to have any time to enjoy spending it? Or when are you going to get time to spend with your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids? Because you're going to be so focused on the business that your marriage fucking falls apart, and then you look back and you realise, well, you know, sometimes the money isn't actually all that important. But it comes down to what you value in life. I'll be honest with you, those of you who already know me, know some of my background. Money, to me, did, until very recently, come 1,000,000% first, foremost and last. Simple as. Probably why I'm divorced, and sadly that isn't a joke. Money came first. You can always get a new wife. You can always, it sounds fucked up, you can always, got to be careful how I say this, but you can always go and have some more kids. And that does sound really fucked up and terrible. But you've got to be selfish to achieve what you want, within reason. Because being selfish, ultimately, depending on what your motives are in life, if you want to provide for your family, the quicker you get that figure where you don't have to do anything every month, the quicker it is you can spend more time with your family, if that is what your personal desire is. Everyone's may be different. You might want to start jumping out of aeroplanes and rock climbing or some other crazy pastime pursuit. It doesn't matter. The point is, whatever it is that you've decided you want to do, the quicker you get that figure where you've got the freedom to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want, is the time when you will be the happiest you can be in your life. Give or take, but the unexpected things that obviously do sometimes happen in life. So the first step, aside from making money, which is obviously why we're here, is to start saving money. And with that in mind, the first thing I would advise you all to do, if you haven't already, is go to a website, moneysavingexpert.com. You've obviously already done this, yes. Right, moneysavingexpert.com. There's other sites on the net, but that one is particularly user-friendly and it does have all the information you need. How long this information I'm about to give you is going to remain relevant for, I don't know, but I suspect certainly for the next 12 months or so. You are legally entitled to claim back your past 6 years' bank charges, credit card charges, and store card charges, okay? Which, if you've got your past 6 years' bank statements, get them out. Go through and see where you've been added interest, unauthorised overdraft fees, direct debits being cancelled, return check, anything that's a charge. Add it up, and I think you'll be quite surprised how much a lot of you will have paid out over 6 years. If you haven't got your 6 years past bank statements, which if you're self-employed, naughty, because you're supposed to keep them for 6 years, as the landlady will tell you, how many of us do. What you do is you write to the bank or the credit card company, and if you go on moneysavingexpert.com, there's actually letters there ready done for you. You just put your own name and address in and the account number, but all the correct wording and terminology has already been done. And you send that off with a £10 cheque or postal order, requesting that they send you a list of the past 6 years' charges for that particular account, which they are legally obliged to supply you within 40 days. If they can't do that, then they're obliged to supply you with your bank statements, full stop. But one way or the other, they have to give you the list of those charges so you can add them all up to get your figure, the money they owe you. Because that's the key. You can claim all of that back, and again, the letters for doing that are on moneysavingexpert.com. The bank's fucking 80, so do the credit card companies. That's why I say I'm not certain how long this information will be valid for, because when it does eventually get to court, all it would take is for a judge to rule and make it an act of precedent in British law that the banks were legally in their right making these charges, and then end of story, you can't do this. By the same token, all it would take is a judge to decide that they are illegal charges, and then that would open the floodgates, which is why the banks and credit card companies, as long as you follow it through, and quite often you'll need to actually instigate county court proceedings, will settle out of court because they don't want the bad publicity and they don't want to take the risk of it going against them ultimately. So, I mean, let's be honest, don't worry, I'm on camera, not you, but let's be honest, how many of us, because I know I certainly did, I've been charged money fairly regularly over 6 years, shall we say, by the banks or credit cards. You know, interest and interest on interest and charges. Well, you can claim all that back and you will get it back. But it's about setting your mind, not listening to them and going, because they'll try and put you off in any way they can. But everything you need to know is on moneysavingexpert.com. That is the first thing I would advise you to do. Get back what money you can. Oh, and you're entitled to interest on it as well, by the way, at the standard base rate, which I forget what that is at the minute, but it tells you on there it's about 6.8%, I think, is what you're allowed to claim interest-wise on top. On right back the 6 years. So you can imagine it's quite, for some people, it can be quite a lot of money. On average, it's generally a couple of grand that people get back. Which doesn't sound a lot, but every bit adds up. That couple of grand will come in very handy for you to use as your, shall we say, investment money to start off the projects that I'm going to suggest to you over the weekend. Well, not just suggest, but break down, show you how they work, and hopefully give you the kick up the arse to start doing them. But you do need money to start anything. Fine, get your own money back. There's no excuse when you leave this weekend to say, oh, I can't start doing that because I haven't got the money. I'm going to show you the ways of getting the money. The first one is get back the bloody money you owed. The charges, just get your money back. That's step one. Step two is to start saving as much money as possible. And I don't mean putting it in the bank, because obviously, you know, you've got to keep paying the bills that you have been doing at the minute. But examine, can you switch your mortgage and save money? Lower the, you know, it might end up being that you're going to end up paying more if you kept that mortgage. You know, if you switch the mortgage to one that's actually over a longer term or a different interest rate, yes, on paper, you ultimately may end up paying out more money, but in the short term, it could reduce your monthly payments to free up capital so that you can invest it, speculate to accumulate. Gas bills, water bills, electric bills, phone bills, mobile phone bills. Can you change company? Can you save money? Well, I would take a wild guess for the majority of you, yes. And with respect to that, I would say later on today, well, when we go on the break at sort of about 11:30, or during the rest of the day or tomorrow, if you'd like to have a word with Beth, my friend over there, she's, I'm sure for the majority of you in here will be able to save you money on a lot of your bills and things like that. Fill in a couple of simple forms, it's done, you save money. You're paying out less. If you're paying out less, you've got more money left. It's not rocket science, but it's things that people so often think, I should get round to doing that, but then with everyday life, we don't get round to doing it. We think, oh, fuck it, it's on direct debit, or bollocks, it's too much problem. Well, if you truly value yourself, and you truly value the lifestyle you've got, or more importantly, are going to achieve, I'm not going to say wish to achieve, are going to achieve, be positive, then now is the time that you must start taking action, which means setting your targets, which means increasing your income, which means getting back what you can, which means reducing your outgoings. And the easiest things you can do, step one, as I say, is moneysavingexpert.com. Get back what you can. Step two, reduce your outgoings, which again, Money Saving Expert will come in terms of credit cards. You know, little things some of us don't do. Credit cards. So many now, 0% for so long. You've got to read the small print, because there's like, a lot of them have catches, as in, if you go up the cash machine and get some cash out, they charge you a fucking stupid, ridiculous amount of interest. But you can switch things around. Yes, ooh, it's going to be another piece of paper to fill in. But you know, for that 5 minutes of time and effort, the amount of money you can save yourself in interest, it's a damn sight more than you'd earn in a conventional job for 5 minutes work. It's going to help you get closer to your goal. Which is the key, because most people in life, well, hopefully, don't plan to fail and fuck up. But believe me, I have fucked up in the past. People don't tend to plan to fail, but most people do fail to plan. One consistent thing, if you read the autobiographies of any multimillionaire or perceptively successful person, you know, that's just a label. But you know, everyone's goals, dreams, ambitions in life are different. is that all of them tend to have fucked up when you look at it. The majority of them tend to have made a lot of money and then lost it, but there's no reason why you need to do that, not with the way we're going to be covering things today and tomorrow. Hopefully we'll cut that bit out for you, although no doubt there's one or two of you in the room who've already gone through that phase in life. But what tends to be consistent about them all when you look is they work some sort of plan. Some millionaires say it's 3 years, some say it's a 5-year plan. 3 to 5 years. It's in that region to realistically bring something to a point where you can get your target figure together so that you can retire and still have money coming in. But this does take effort on your part. That's the key. It ain't just going to magically happen by itself. You know, someone's not going to come and suddenly wake you up in the morning and go, there you go, there's all the bank charges back. There you go, you know, we've just changed all your bills over so that now you're paying half of what you were paying. You've got to actually put some effort in. Not a lot, but you've got to put effort in. And you've got to know exactly where you're going. Because as with any journey in life, if you just aimlessly go out in the car and you don't know where you're going, how will you ever know when you've got there? And that's why so many people fall into the trap of making money, get swept along with the wave and carry on making more money. And yeah, it's all well and good, but then they carry on making more money because they've never actually bothered to fucking sit down and think, how much money do I actually need? And that figure is different for everyone, so I can't say to you, you need this amount or you need that, because you know, for all I know, some of you in this room are watching these DVDs, your ideal aim in life may be to just get enough money together to go and build a little bungalow in some third world country and have enough there so you didn't have to work, so you could live comfortably there, and then go and help all the locals out and do charitable work because you're a spiritual person, whatever turns you on. In which case you're not going to need anywhere near as big a figure because you're going to be going somewhere where, you know, like Thailand at the minute, you can build like a 4-bedroom bungalow by the ground if you bribe the right people, of course. I didn't say that, allegedly. But if you do bribe the right people, you can get it built properly. And I'm not on about a wooden hut, I'm on about proper concrete. It's a bungalow for less than £5,000. Less than 5,000 quid. And then for a tiny amount of money each month, you can have staff who will cater to your every need. Whether that be doing your cooking, cleaning your feet, sucking your cock, whatever. All for just a few pounds a month, for far less than you can live here in England. It depends what you want out of life. Well, I'll give you a clue. I probably will be going to Thailand to live short. No, but it depends. That's it. You've got to sit down and make your plan. Where do you want to be in 3 years' time or 5 years' time? And that's not just where do you want to be financially, it's where do you want to be emotionally, spiritually, geographically. Because, you know, if you want to end up living in, let's say, Switzerland or something, you know, and in a particular area, you need to find out what sort of property prices are. What's the cost of living? Is there a rule there that says you can't live in that area unless you've got X amount of pounds in the bank? It's all relevant because, you know, you could work for those 3 to 5 years otherwise, get to the point where you think, I've got enough money, yes, I've achieved it, I'm going to retire, get there and they go, slight technical age, you've not got enough money in the bank. So suddenly then your whole dream of the past 5 years you've worked towards is just crumbled down around you because you didn't put enough planning in place in advance to do the research to find out what it is you actually need to get what you actually want. Not what, you know, you've got to look deeper than the surface. You've got to do this in advance so you know where you're going, so that then you can work backwards and think, how am I going to get to this point? You need to know what the end result is. Obviously that can change along the way a little bit, because house prices go up. You know, bills go up. But you need to have a start of knowing what it is now you need to get to here. And that's going to be different for each of you. And it's going to be different in many ways, not just in the figures, but also in the way you feel about yourself, what you want to do in life. Which comes down to, well, 2 things. What puts most people off, as a couple of you said before, is fear. And fear Well, as therapists, you know, we go on about phobias, fear. There are no phobias. There's only one phobia, the fear of being scared. In life, in general, being a human being, fear, 99% of the time, it's a bit different if someone's got a gun against your head. A bit logical, you might shit yourself. But, in general, fear is nothing more than false evidence against reality. It's a perception in your mind of what is or isn't right. And as therapists would tell you, I know mainly we are therapists here today, but you know, not everybody has that background knowledge. But at the end of the day, you get more of in life what you set your mind on. So if you are focused on this is possible, it is far more likely you will achieve it than if you are focused on, well, I'm too old to do that, or I'm too young to do that, or well, you know, I couldn't possibly do that. It's all about state of mind, which you should already know. Most of what we're going to talk about this morning is so blatantly obvious, it's like, yeah, I've thought about that before. But that's the key, you may have thought about it, but have you actually put it into action? I'm guessing not. Roger Bannister is a prime example. The guy who ran the, I always get this one wrong, I always say 1 minute mile, that'd be fucking amazing, wouldn't it? 3 minute mile, isn't it? 4 minute. You know, I'm giving him more credit than he deserves, really. It was fucking quick anyway, alright. But the thing was, everyone said it wasn't possible. Nobody had ever achieved it. And he set his mind on it. He was like, yes, I will prove this can be done. And he trained, and he trained, and he put the planning in, and he thought, right, what do I need to do differently that the other athletes haven't done so that I can have a different end result? And he stuck at it, and he tried 1 or 2 things, they didn't work. So we changed course. And along your path, you need to know where your end result is, but along the way, yeah, there might be a diversion in the road. As long as you know where you're going, you know where to head back to. Eventually, he found a way of getting faster and faster, and then he did, wrote the 4 minute mile. But the fucked up thing is, within a couple of weeks, several other people did it. Within a month, numerous athletes had done it, and yet they didn't change the training programme. It's just because then they believed that it was possible to do, because they'd seen somebody else do it. And this is exactly the same with anything in life, especially making money. If somebody else can do it, you can do it. The only thing stopping yourself is you, or, and it's again, it's still just an excuse, it's not a reason, but we too often give ourselves false evidence against reality, fear of some description, or justify things to ourselves to put them off. Oh, to get this started, I need a few £100. I haven't got it. Well, fucking find it then. You know, if you really genuinely want to make something happen, you will find a way of making it happen. And I will warn you now that before you get into this massive, massive comfort zone of financial freedom, you will have to go through some, to a greater or lesser degree, depending on what it is you've decided are your own goals, dreams and ambitions and desires, some form of pain. Because if you want to do it in that 3 to 5 year time period, you need to drastically speed up what most people normally do. So for a short while at least, and I mean a very short while given many of the ways we're going to talk about over the day, you are going to have to put a little bit more work and effort into things. Initially, because you'll no doubt carry on doing what you're doing at the moment, so you've got peace of mind that everything's going to be paid, until you see, because as human beings we're quite sceptical, until you see for yourself that actually this is pulling in enough money, so I don't need to do it as well as this, I'll just let this run on autopilot. At which point then you can start to expand properly. So, right. Some of this seems like, totally, what the fuck's that all about? It will become more relevant. For those who've seen my DVDs, most of you have been to seminars, you'll realise that as the day goes on, as the weekend goes on, everything does start to tie together and make sense. Goals, or rather your plan, your destination, where it is you want to be in life. These are things you've probably heard before, but there's just 1 or 2 points I want to put in, and it's relevant because it's so important to what we're going to talk about later, to making things happen. They must be SMART, which is just an acronym. I said it right for once, especially at this hour of the morning. For specific, measurable, accurate, realistic and timed. Specific meaning, as they would say in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, you've got to be able to literally close your eyes, see it, taste it, smell it, see it, feel it, you're there. You've got to be able to think to yourself, yes, I can imagine myself there. This is good from 2 points of view. One, because it will make it more likely to happen for you, but also, you know, sometimes when you sit down and examine things closely, you think to yourself, actually, no, I don't really want that. You'll surprise yourself on some things. You'll realise that when you look at everything has a consequence in life, whether that's positive or negative. And yeah, some things are obvious. If you shoot somebody in the correct manner, they end up dead. If you get caught, the likelihood is you're going to prison. That's an obvious consequence. But, you know, to you, one of the consequences might be that you feel a damn sight happier that the person's dead. It's all about your... No, but it's true. It's all about your own individual state of mind, where you're at, what you want. Now, I'm not saying go out shooting people. Okay, just for the record, I'm definitely not saying that. What I am saying, though, is each of us, although essentially the same, in that we have all basic human desires and needs, we don't all want to end up in the same place 3 years, 5 years from now. That's what makes us individuals. We all have different dreams, goals, ambitions, so you've got to know what it is you want. It must be measurable, and by that, you need to know in yourself when you have achieved that. And have you done it on time? That's the last one, timed. I.e. setting yourself this 3 to 5 year plan, chunking it down, so you start off with the end result and then you work backwards. How are we going to get there? Well, how you're going to get there is using, I would suggest, 1 or 2 or more of the ways that I will teach you today and tomorrow to make rapid amounts of cash for very little effort, particularly a lazy alcoholic like me in the bar, or whatever it is your personal desire is, of course. They must be accurate, and that's reiterating what I said before. Really, you've got to know in yourself what it is you want and be focused on it. Because otherwise you can end up getting, what is it, China in Your Hand, the song, who was it? T'Pau. You listen to that song, there's some words in it that go along the lines of, be careful what you dream for, because if you're not careful it'll happen. And, you know, in NLP, the way they book that is you get more in life of what you focus on. So be bloody sure that what you're focusing on is what you actually want, and not just what you think you want, or what your husband or your wife is telling you, or what your kids are encouraging you to do. No. Your kids one day are going to grow up and leave. Sooner or later, face it, your fucking husband or wife's going to fuck off. Let's be realistic, whether that's because they died before you, or they just fucking leave you. Look at the worst case scenario. I'm not on about being pessimistic, but look at the worst case scenario. You've got to look after number one. You've got to work this 3 to 5 year plan on the basis in your head that 3 to 5 years from now, your husband or wife might have fucked off and left you. So, if they haven't, and you want to be with them, so much the better. But you better have it in your head, because otherwise, at the end of the 5 years, you've got what you wanted, or what you thought you wanted, but then your husband or wife fucks off, and suddenly the whole image has changed entirely, and it's like, what was the point? You've really got to consider the worst case scenarios as well. Hence the word realistic. I am realistic. Let me tell you, having lots of money brings you more fucking problems than it does being skint. Yeah, it's not just quite as simple as having a shitload of money in the bank, living off the interest and having money coming in. You will find, and if any of this sounds at all uncomfortable, that's why I'm getting the dodgy stuff, so to speak, out of the way before the morning brew break. If any of this sounds uncomfortable, then the morning brew break is the time to go home. Because if you can't go through this pain barrier or psychological comfort zone, then you may as well give up. People around you that you know now will become jealous of your success. That is human nature, like it or lump it. They will become envious. They will become vindictive. They will become two-faced. They may not show you this to your face, but or say it, or admit it. In fact, they may swear blind. They're 100% behind you. They're really happy for you. Bollocks. Absolute fucking bollocks. I'm telling you now, if there was anyone in this room with more money than me, I'd be fucking pissed off and envious right now. It's bollocks. Money brings you problems. Problems with human beings. They do get envious. If you know, it's a sad analogy, but it's true. When I was skin and bankrupt and had just got out of prison and had no money, I was going to the little social, real working men's sort of pub where let me in, making a funny noise, where beer was only £1.50 a pint. I think they've got a machine on in there that's doing it. I'm afraid we'll have to put up with that little noise till the break. Beer was only £1.50 a pint, so I could get pretty shit-faced on a gyro. Which suited me at the time. No, I'm being honest with you. This is fact. This is like, right, you know? Which I always say, what's green and gets you pissed? A gyro. But I was socialising with other people that were on a gyro. Now, I've got nothing against people who are on state benefits. I've been there, done it, got the T-shirt. But you can fall into a trap. Now, fortunately I didn't for very long, but when I got myself out of that trap and started earning money and I was going in there in Armani jeans that cost 150 odd quid rather than the 2 for a tenner from TJU's, and people were noticing the exchanges, and then I've got a £1,000 necklace on, and you know, people get fucking jealous. They suddenly, oh, go on, lend us the price of a pint, will you? Yeah, now and again maybe, but you do reach a point where you just feel like saying, fuck off. But more importantly, those people start getting, you will find things are being said about you, rumours start, human beings, you've got to, one of the best bits of advice I was ever given, and that's the scenario I'm giving you now, because now these days I go and, why, I don't know, but I go and pay over the odds to get pissed, just because the environment I'm sat in is also full of arrogant, pretentious, egotistical pricks. But they're arrogant, egotistical pricks like me who just happen to have shitloads of money, who are also very useful contacts to help you make even more money, which is networking, something we'll cover later in the weekend. So, you know, the best piece of advice I was ever given was by Delavar, who was one of my hypnosis teachers, and he says, every town you go to, and we're sort of breaking that rule here, but I break every fucking rule in the book. You should probably guess for those who've been on seminars before. He said, you know, when you go into town to do a show, he says, stop at the dearest hotel. I said, that's all well and good, Del, but you know, like, if you're only getting that amount of money for a show, and it's costing this amount to stop at some such and such a place, you end up with naff all left. He said, short term maybe, long term you'll make far more money. And it took me ages to get my head around that one. But you've got to start thinking, acting, living, being and feeling like a millionaire before you will ever become a millionaire. Now, I'm not saying stop buying lottery tickets. You know, somewhere down that 3 to 5 year period, you might win the bloody lottery. Good luck to you. But here's the bad news. The majority of people who've won the lottery, whether it was 1 million, 10 million, 40 million, have lost 99%, if not all of their money, within 3 to 5 years. How the fuck did they manage that when, you know, like we looked at before, on that example, you only needed that 850G and every month you'd have enough interest off it to live. I mean, that is one hell of a fucking skill, that, to lose 40 million quid in 3 to 5 years. But it's true. You just got to go on the internet. This is documented facts. I'm not making this up. And that's because of state of mind. It's because they were out of the comfort zone. They weren't ready to be rich. If you don't feel you're worthy of being rich, whatever your perception of that is, for some people that's an extra £100 a week, for some others it's £1,000 a week, for others it's knowing you've got enough to be financially independent for life. That's you personally, something to search in your own soul. But if you don't feel ready for that, if you don't feel you're worth it, then it ain't ever going to fucking happen. Or it will happen, and you'll just start getting used to that kind of lifestyle, and you'll self-sabotage yourself. You'll be on self-destruct. And then, believe me, it's a lot better fucking things up when you're only making a few £100 a week and dropping down to nothing, than the feeling of going from this kind of lifestyle down to fuck all. But why fuck it up in the first place? I've been there, I've done that. There's no reason why you should, as long as you actually take time to examine who you are, what you are, where you are in your life, where you want to be, and more importantly, get yourself in that frame of mind where you feel worthy of that lifestyle. Because otherwise it won't happen. So as Dell said, if you want to be a millionaire, socialise with millionaires. Act like one. Fake it to make it, they say in sales, and it's very true. The only real difference between me now and me 5 years ago is that 5 years ago the Armani jeans that I was wearing cost a tenner and were counterfeit, but pretty good. And the ones I wear now, for some fucking unknown reason to me, cost £150 and actually don't look any different. The only person who knows there's anything different about them is me. As long as you act the part, you will become the part. What you focus on, you get more of in life. It's all about living that image, becoming that person. Now, I know I say this in my hypnosis courses, but you know, being a person who's perceived to have authority or skills or knowledge above and beyond what most people consider to be the norm, automatically gives you this sort of status that helps you, shall we say, manipulate situations to make your life far more cosy. Hence, I have a PhD in psychology. Yes, psychology because I do hypnosis, but it would be psychology anyway, because those that haven't got a psychology degree think the moment they find out you have, that you can mess with the heads anyway, and that you're probably doing that, so they're automatically in a different frame of mind and they're far more manipulable. You can get your own way far more easier. The Bachelor of Science I have, BSc, that's in marketing communications. I didn't do any of the courses, by the way, you just buy these degrees, for those that haven't seen that, from a place like Chelsea University, which is www.chelsea.org.uk. You make sure you get it apostled, so it's legal in all countries of the Hague Convention, so you can legally use it on advertising. But forget advertising for a minute. More importantly, having these things, oh yeah, and I'm also a lord. Buy yourself a 12-inch square of land in Ireland, just go on eBay, type in lord, comes up for less than 20 quid, you can buy a 12-inch square piece of land in Ireland, and you can legally then call yourself lord of wherever it is, Ballamore or which is in Cork. Lord of Cork. But, or lady, obviously. Again, we're not being sexist. But you have different business cards printed then. I'm not even on about marketing here, although there can be marketing knock-on effects depending on what industry you're in. But it's amazing how much more likely it is that you will get a courtesy upgrade, for example, on an aeroplane if you are a perceived doctor, or even better, a lord. And you can legally, by the way, get your passport changed to have these titles on, so that you get seen at with a lord. It's in your passport, so it must be kosher, you know? And it is legal, it is kosher, it's just a bit not quite what it appears to be. It's amazing how you tend to get courtesy upgrades more often. It's amazing how, if your secretary rings up a restaurant, for example, your secretary, any female, I'll get a voice changer so you sound female. Books and says, oh yes, I'm ringing on behalf of my boss, and he's bringing a number of people in this evening and puts this perception across. Yeah, could you book the table in the name, Lord? Whatever. You know, it's amazing how you get better treatment. It's sad, it's fucked up, but people treat you differently. If you go into a flash restaurant, and you can try this out, you go into a flash restaurant wearing a suit, you will get treated differently than if you walk in a pair of ripped jeans and a t-shirt. Unless, of course, your name's David Beckham or something like that, then no, that's a different matter. But in general, people have false perceptions of things, and that's the way they treat you. So, rather than get pissed off about that, rather than rebelling, which is how I fucked up big style many years ago, rather than doing directly the opposite of what the establishment would expect you to do because you think, fuck it, I'm going to book the system and do it my way, play them at their own game. Yeah, it might piss you off, they're going certain places, you've got to dress a certain way. But while you make it, I don't give a shite, mate. I know you're looking thinking, I break all the rules. But make it easy on yourself, okay? And play the game. Until you can get to a point where you can go fuck off and you're not bothered about using these people. That sounded bad, didn't it? Using these people. Everyone you come into contact with, and I'm not saying use and abuse in a negative sense, but everyone you come into contact with, if you are socialising in the correct environments, is potentially useful to your business and potentially very useful to your personal life. One of the things I still do now, for example, and this is an example before we have the brew break of how to make money for doing naff all, is I make a point of when I'm in these environments, wine bars, whatever, if I meet somebody who's in a line of business that I don't already know somebody in, I will get their business card. And I will either that day, if time permits, or at some future point contact them, and basically say, you know, I've got one or two friends who might be in the market for a new conservatory. But, you know, I got offered some money the other week by a company, because companies do this quite often. They want me to recommend them to the, you know, my friends. But, you know, I actually like you. You're a nice guy, and I prefer to deal with somebody I know. So, you know, what sort of commission will be involved if I pass these people your way? Get a commitment. So then, before you know it, bit of effort going in, but you're out having a drink anyway. This isn't hard work. You know somebody who does conservatories, you know somebody who does double glazing, you know somebody who sells flashcards, you know somebody who's a bloody whatever builder. And then everyone you come into contact with who mentioned they're in the market for one of those things, people do in natural conversation. Oh yeah, oh I'll be having a conservatory done shortly. Your next line, logically, is, oh, have you already got that in place? And when they haven't, what do? You pass on the person's telephone number. And yeah, if need be, you bullshit. You probably, you know, you might have a conservatory, you might not have got it off that guy. It doesn't matter, but you go, brilliant job, do an absolute brilliant job. Personally recommend this person. Because people are more likely to go to someone that's been personally recommended to them. They do all the fucking work. All you've done is pass on a telephone number, and thank you very much, you get a nice backhander out of it. But the number of times you can do that, the number of times you must, in conversation, people have said, oh, do you know a plumber? Do you know a such and such? Well, you know, if you'd made the effort to make sure you did know one, or rather put into place an agreement whereby you would get a backhander off somebody, and then you just tell them white lies saying they've done work for you, then you could have been making money out of giving these telephone numbers out. Well, you know, we've done it before. You know, somebody says, oh, do you know a plumber? If you do, you've given out the number. You've helped a friend, but you made fuck all out of it financially, have you? Far better to give them the number being nice and also make some money out of it.